Pickaxe.
Welcome to the Chance Encounters podcast. We've been running board game cafes around the UK for about 6 years now. From hen do's to family reunions, first dates to breakups, we recommended games for every situation, and now we want a fresh challenge. Each week we'll be inviting a guest onto this podcast to put our board games knowledge to the test. But they'll come armed with an abstract and absurd scenario, and it's up to us to figure out what the situation calls for and recommend a game that ladders their snakes. Whoever's recommendation the guest loves the most will score a point, and at the end of the series, whoever has the most points will be crowned the Titan of board games. Which currently, Dickie is winning in spades.
I mean, I'm by two.
By two.
You know, it's early days.
So, I am one of the hosts. I'm Richard Scarsbrook. I run and operate a board game cafe that you might know as Chance Encounters. I do various things there, but who wants to talk about me? We've got Ben here.
Hello, I'm Ben. I'm with the Yogscast. We do all sorts of things here, but I personally make videos for YouTube. I stream strategy games on Twitch. I'm a massive nerd, and I love board games.
Indeed. And we've got for another week, probably his final week, so that we can make sure that maybe he won't win, Dickie.
Hi, I'm Dickie Jordan. I've worn many hats for Chance Encounters over the years, but today my hat is enthusiastic geek. I love board games, and I've just been talking about them for Chance Encounters for quite a while now.
Pretty much the person who, you were the OG, I'd like to say, the original guru of Chance Encounters, and has taught me pretty much most of the games I know. And we are also joined, our guest for this week, armed with said abstract and absurd scenario, is the person you probably know most as lolipopgi, the Twitch streamer, Lolly's Ped's Australian friend, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura, and I stream on twitch.tv/lolipopgi, which is spelled LOLIPOPGI. You can call me Laura today. That's fine. Laura or Lollip, whichever comes to mind first. And I'm a friend. I'm a friend of Richard. We've known each other, played D&D for years together, and I love board games too. And just happen to have a lot of mutual friends, don't we?
Me too.
And I happen to have met the Yogscast too. A weird, serendipitous situation that I'm here. But I'm here to recommend a board game. Oh, here to recommend a board game. I'm here to get a recommendation for a board game. That's all right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was how I approached. Laura was like, you know what? I really, really need a board game. I have this absurd scenario. And we were like, well, let's turn that into a podcast, shall we? Yeah, let's use it here.
Your fault.
It's my fault. Yeah, I take full credit for this podcast. Yeah, pretty much. No. I've got a couple of ideas, but one I've been thinking about for a while. Would you like to hear it?
Let's go straight in.
Hopefully.
Literally.
Yeah,
It's literally why
away.
I'm here.
Okay. Slow down. All right. So I'd like you. Okay. Well, first of all, are you familiar with the movie E.T.?
Reasonably.
I haven't seen it for a while.
Same. But that being said, it's that sort of concept, not exactly E.T., but essentially an alien comes to Earth and happens to come to my house, me, who is an 8-year-old, and my sister, who is 10 at the time, and they've come secretly, and we are trying to keep them in our closet. Hopefully, our parents won't know that we have an alien in the house. However, we have to meet two specific needs.
Mm-hmm.
So we all want to play board games as a family, but E.T. also wants to play the board game and wants to learn about Earth and what it means to be an Earthling, or what is the one game that you would teach an alien? An alien is probably quite young in this particular species, perhaps, but one that we can explain easily to one that doesn't really understand English very well, and also caters to the rest of my family as well. So, do you have any questions so far?
So you're saying that you're keeping this alien in your cupboard, but then the rest of your family are now being introduced to it through the board game medium.
Yeah. So we still have to hide the fact that they're an alien. So we have to still pretend that they're just like a friend. Yeah, exactly. Yes, they've got like a hoodie, and we have to try to make them think that they're just our like friend from school, basically. But only my sister and I know that this is actually an alien.
Oh, that's fine.
So that's what. So
okay, so
any other
can we
questions?
Can we put you under pressure now? Name this alien.
Name
Like
the
this,
alien.
this is my friend.
Okay, well, for some reason, the
We're
only
your
one that comes to
parents.
mind is Marvin, which is boring because obviously it's
Okay.
boring. I guess like if I'm 8 years old and my sister's 10, and we had to come up with a silly name, I guess it'd just be like Bobby or something. So Bobby the alien is this short little bug-eyed creature, but can pass as a bug-eyed human, hopefully.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not. They don't know anything about Earth. They don't know what board games are. What earthing games are. And so that's where I'm posing the challenge.
I have a question. If they are learning about humanity from the board game I recommend, and the board game doesn't paint humanity in such a positive light, is there any risk of this alien leaving and returning with some unpleasant friends?
So that's the thing, isn't it? This alien's just appeared, and we're just two kids. We can't possibly understand the political implications of showing them something like Pandemic or something. It would have to be something that is maybe lighthearted, maybe easy to understand, but hopefully, we wouldn't know any different. So maybe we're not metagaming. if you want to do a
I
complicated,
just don't want to accidentally doom the
awkward
Earth.
game. Yeah, exactly.
So we're saying like don't recommend something like Operation where it just becomes the norm to try and take people's like kneecaps out of the body.
As I said, it's not. It's I and my sister, we're just kids. It's just whatever. We just want to have fun at the end of the day. But I guess you might think personally,
We
it might
definitely
be a
need
good
to
idea.
stop taking this to such a dark place. That was like
Straight to the dark.
This is how you dissect a human, and this
we
this is exactly how
we
it goes.
later found out Bobby was General Bobby of the Armada.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got our two kids. Is it 3-player game or with your family as well? We now
So
talking
5-player preferably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 5-player. I mean, I say or more, but 5-player makes the most sense.
All right.
All of us can get involved. My parents, I suppose, are they're not as like nerdy board game geeks like my sister and I are. They are pretty much we grew up on Monopoly, put it that way, and Snakes and Ladders and all the sort of basic stuff. So not even as close to Settlers of Catan. Never played that or anything. I tried getting them to play Exploding Kittens, and they pretty much got it. They haven't asked to play it since, unfortunately, but that's about the most that they can manage. And they play things like cards, like Hearts and Poker, whatever. Those are the kinds of things that they'd be okay to learn. So it's not like they can't pick up the rules. But I remember trying to explain Hanabi to my dad, and he just couldn't get it, which is weird because he's a very very smart guy. But I guess it's just getting used to any kind of different board games tends to be a little bit more of a struggle. No offense, Dad. No offense. It's okay.
I'm yet to meet many people that haven't had that. I grew up on Monopoly. Like I think Catan was maybe 96 when it was officially published, so they would have been like fairly ahead of their time if. I'd say our generation, but that's a wide swath that I'm sort of saying there, would have had some, Carcassonne, Catan, some of the modern classics. I'm using air quotes if you can't see.
Yeah.
Have you ever met anyone that's like, yeah, you know what, I played that?
No.
It's Tiddlywinks, right? That's what I grew up on. Tiddlywinks, Monopoly.
I'm starting to see it in the cafe. People coming in with kids and being like, rather than going to the classics or the kind of really easy kind of end of the scale, they're like starting their kids off on a Carcassonne or something. Okay. So something that's kind of reasonably simple in terms of the mechanics or whatever, but you've still got some kind of choices to make. They're almost playing it more like a cooperative game, I guess, but it depends on the age of the child. I think sometimes with the cafe you get like kids who come in and you're like, I'm going to see this kid in the newspaper one day. And like, there's 2 reasons that might happen. There's like, you see the kids who are like, please just distract this child for an hour. We beg of you. And then you get the kids who are like, we need you to challenge our child because nothing else has worked. And like, there's obviously the lovely ones in between. But I think you are starting to see like board games as an educational thing happen more and more. And like, rather take that approach that's more like play than more like learning and kind of thinking rather than just kind of play.
So immediately you've got quite the edge because you've already been teaching these educational board games to kids, and this is exactly what we need.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. The teach is something I'd like to explore. Like with Bobby, like, do you get the sense that he understands what's like what you're saying, or is it very much like demonstrate physically and then he copies? Like, you think you could? Do you think Bobby understands you? You think he really gets you?
Yeah, I think that he definitely works better when we show him things. So, like showing him what's in the kitchen and showing him what a certain toy is or something. Actually using words, I think, comes normally. Like you know how it goes. You know, you try to talk to somebody that doesn't understand you, but you still speak in your main language anyway, as if to hope. But then he starts to sometimes say words back to you, so he's starting to pick up some of the language as well. So I think some basic English would be fine. If you were to, I don't know, for example, trying to teach the rules to somebody and the same kind of rule came up, you probably use the word for it, and eventually it would just stay in his mind, I can imagine. Nice. Or whatever is in his brain or head, or if it has a brain, something like that.
Whatever functions as the processing unit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And hard drive, to retain the information. Yeah.
Okay. So this guy or this alien, I guess at this point we're not sure. Gender's not a problem. So we've got them. They're coming down. We've introduced them to the parents, and they're like, "Hey, let's have this conversation over board games." Is that something that would have happened? Board games are fairly readily available. Like you said that Monopoly was the first kind of board games that you were playing with your family. Would this be unusual to be like, "Hey, let's play"?
I think I would probably say, like we want to invite our friend over, blah blah blah, and is it okay if we play some games together or something? And so I'd have to find a way to, I would say convince my parents to join in. I think I could probably convince them, no problem. It's just it has to be, suppose that the easiest game to understand that everyone will like is going to be quite challenging for sure, because I'm just imagining it can't be big, long drawn out games or games that require a lot of complex ideas. So those, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking of. But it has to be something that I want Bobby to return home, to phone home and say, I had a great time hanging out with Laura and her sister. And a super cool Earthling game, you know, and that they can remember forever, hopefully, or however long this alien lives, And
when the Armada comes and destroys humanity, your family is spared the apocalypse.
So, I mean, obviously, I expect that's what you guys will want to think about. Kid Laura is going to be like, I hope they had fun, and I hope they come back. I hope they come back and tell all their friends about us and how cool we are. I think that's probably what 8-year-old Laura would think about.
It's very wholesome.
Does 8-year-old Laura have games that she won't touch, or any type of like? She's like, no, I won't play that. That's too much, or it didn't have the right art.
I think 8-year-old Laura's like, I think I remember very like growing up when I found my first ever nerd board game was when I was on holiday in France. I think it was, oh my goodness, I can't remember what it was called. It was a game that was like set in a fantasy world where the board flips upside down through a whirlpool, and I can't remember what it's called. It's really old though, and this was like my first introduction to anything other than like Scrabble. You starting to think you know what it is. I played it later in life as well, so I was like, oh my god, I wonder if it's actually any good. It's whatever. It's not, it's like purely dice roll based. You just have to land on the right squares. But it was really cool, and I was very young when that came out, so I must have been okay to process more complex or more nerdy games. I think the only thing, this is just me on a personal level, but I'm really shit at deception games. So anything that could give me the edge is great, and I'm not sure how. I don't think my mum would really find it like complicated and things to do deception games as well. My dad would just kick our asses all the way through the night. Right, I don't think that's necessarily going to be very fun. Also, I think that would just create just arguments.
Yeah. No, it's not going to be a nice wholesome time, is it?
No,
like, he's not going to go home and say, this family was lovely when they all betrayed me every time we played a game. Right?
And who knows if Bobby has any like understanding of deception, lies. Who knows? We just don't really understand that.
I think also with like those kind of games, you're asking him to well. Like it's all in the kind of what you
Yeah,
say. And
exactly.
Where you hype things.
Yeah.
Like I know what you mean. I'm shocking at deception games. Rich is looking at me with a grin on his face because he remembers the first time we played a deception game together.
There was a game that we were playing. It was like Spyfall.
I
and
think it was. Yeah.
the very first question, I think it was me that asked you.
I was fine until I had to lie to anyone.
Well, I just remember that game. You being asked the first question, you were just like, "I'm the spy. I'm the spy." Everyone, I'm the spy. Like,
That's amazing.
You guys, I can't do it. I can't do it, you guys. This is too much. I can't do it.
I love you all too much.
I was just like, "Next game, then. Okay, we found the spy, everyone."
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm usually quite bad because if the second someone accuses me of being the spy or the baddie, I'll just be like, me? No. And then immediately it's like, well, you just gave yourself away, Laura. So what was the point of that? Yeah, I've never been very good at them, and I get salty, and I don't want to get salty. I think even 8-year-old Laura would get salty, not like table flip salty, just like grumpy and like sit on the sofa or just scowling the entire evening, and that's not very fun for Bobby.
No.
Bobby might not understand what scowling means or what tantrums are, or anything like that. You know.
So with 8-year-old you, is it imperative that you're going to win, or is it imperative that you work together? Like, is a cooperative game off the table at this point? Are you like, no, someone has to be the winner here?
No, not at all. No, nothing like that. It just it can be anything as long as it fits all the above previously explained parameters, I suppose.
See above.
Yeah, see above. Yeah, I think if it's co-op, then cool. If it's not co-op, that's also cool. I played mostly competitive games in my family. Cooperative games aren't really a concept in like normie board games, if you know what I mean.
It's true.
So it's true, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
there's very few.
Yeah,
Like,
which is a shame, honestly. I think.
Yeah, I can't think of many like accessible cooperative games at all. Really, I think you look at the entry level ones. I guess would be Pandemic and maybe the Forbidden series is quite good. There's a trio of games called Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and then Forbidden Sky, and they're quite good for working together.
I think it kind of raises a previous point that Ben has mentioned about cooperative games in general, that you get that potential what's considered a quarterbacking where one person is telling everybody else what to do, and I guess we want to avoid that situation because at this point Bobby just wouldn't learn anything.
Yeah, especially with variable skill levels. Like you've got parents and children and alien visitors. That's quite a wide range of like ability that that you got to cater for. You don't want the lower, like the alien getting left behind.
Yeah,
and not really even following what's happening at this point.
Have I given you too hard a scenario? You can throw the towel now if you'd like, and
What?
I'll take the win if you need to.
Oh my god! I thought this was a wholesome situation. I did not realize how cutthroat this was going to get.
Well, you all look like your cogs are turning. Are you sure you've got some suggestions?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think by the sounds of it, as we've been talking about it, it's more about what's going on, almost the conversation. You're not necessarily interested in what's happening on the board per se, because that's the mechanics, that's the guts. But what you actually want is to have an enjoyable time that 8-year-old is not going to end up sulking or being pissed off.
Yeah.
So it is definitely seems like it's an experience that we're looking for here, not necessarily the nuts and bolts getting into.
I think
That's
it's a really interesting like line to draw, and actually kind of what games mean to people at different ages. Like I think at that age, when you're playing a game with your kids or with your alien,
we all have done that.
I mean, it is quite often more about the excuse to sit around a table together you wouldn't normally get. Whereas like as you get older, it becomes about the game that you're playing, and not necessarily like. I think for some people it's still the excuse to get around a table, certainly with party games and stuff. But I think as kind of seasoned nerds, you kind of sometimes get too lost in which game you're playing rather than the reason you're playing a game in the first place. I think that's something that doesn't really happen as kids. You're there because you want to be there with those people at that table.
I mean, realistically, 8-year-old me would have been, those rules suck. I want to create my own rules. So to a certain extent, who cares about what the rule books was going on? It's definitely a case of like, let's just make it fun, even if that ruins the game.
It is still one of my favorite experiences of teaching a game in the cafe is teaching a family of 4 and little girl, little boy, and they were with an older sibling and taught the game. It was a game where you had to rescue a princess who was being attacked by a dragon. Taught the game, did the whole thing, said, "Are we ready to go?" The little boy went, "Can I be the dragon?"
That is so cute.
And I went, yeah, and we just fudged the game.
That is rude.
Like absolutely, it didn't matter how the game was meant to be played. Let's
Yeah.
find a way to make this little boy the dragon.
Aw.
That's so nice.
It's the kind of thing
lovely.
where certain times, if the cafe's busy, you can't do that. But like, it's one of these beautiful moments where I just had
Yeah.
the time to
Yeah.
fudge the game. It was
Oh,
great.
that's awesome.
But yeah, like sometimes you don't want to, be I think a lot, again, like games are set up for norms and that kind of thing. And yeah, you sometimes want to be able to flip it. If the little boy wants to be the dragon, I say, let's make that happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, open to that. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to think. I'm trying to imagine my parents reacting to that. I think they would be open to it for sure, just for the sake of us as kids. I think we can try to avoid letting my dad win constantly because he has a tendency to try hard a little bit. Now just keep it civil, but at the same time, I think just for us all to have fun is like the key. Definitely going to be. I feel like it'll be a challenge, but maybe you guys think like.
I've
Yeah, it's a piece
I've
of
got
piss.
a couple already that are brewing. So I kinda like
Great,
that. Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have any more questions about the scenario?
Mm.
I feel like I do. Blank.
So I mean, realistically, we don't think like luck versus strategy is one, but I think we've already decided it doesn't matter. We just want to be having fun. It's about the experience. Story based, could 8-year-old Laura read reasonably well?
I think yes. I suppose it's more. What is Bobby going to get out of that apart from a bunch
True.
of words? If there's a way for it to be more acting based
Mm-hmm.
or picture based, would
Okay.
also be really good. If there's any kind of images
Yeah.
that I can show them, if there's any artwork I can show
Mm.
them. I suppose if it's 8-year-old Laura, this is this the beginning of consumer internet. So where we pretty much have like dial up. That's about it. So it's not like we can just be like, oh, check out this thing on my phone. This is what a dragon is, or this is what a supermarket is, stuff like that. Not necessarily. If it can be in picture books, then sure, maybe we could
App-based games very
could
much out
improvise.
the window. Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that
Okay.
many do app-based games particularly well. I'm gonna say
No.
there's not many games that I've got other than Chiwazi, which is literally just who picks first player. It's just a literary game where you put your finger on your phone and it will tell you which one of you is going
It's-
first.
Yeah,
That's-
essentially a random selector.
I mean, you could have rolled a
Mhm.
dice, but there's an app for it, and it seems to go down really well when I pick it up.
Yeah.
I have to say though, apps I've not used in board games that much.
No, I've played a
No.
couple of games with apps, but generally I felt like they haven't added anything to the experience.
Mm.
Yeah, just unlocked.
I
That's
think-
the only one I've played with an app.
Mhm.
You
True.
need it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the bits and bobs.
I think there's some that are trying interesting things, but I don't think we're at the board game app's final form yet, really. Like Chronicles of Crime is a really interesting one where you are trying to solve a crime like you would Ludo, but you are doing it via the medium of QR codes. So you scan. So if you want to ask like a witness a question, you scan their QR code, and it brings up the list of things you can ask them, and kind of ask them the question. They give you the answer. If you want to search a crime scene, you can then scan the QR code. It'll take you to the crime scene. Have a look around. The great thing is you have a look around in virtual reality. So you hold the phone up, and it shows you
wow.
like the crime scene, and you can look around and see the various clues and stuff. And then it will bring up a list of clues and the things you've seen and picked out, and you can kind of go into more detail. And I think it's nice that it gives you a lot more freedom and a lot more kind of scope.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's not quite finished yet in terms of where we're going to get to with kind of bringing the digital and the analog together.
I mean, bringing it back at that point to what is a board game? Like, we still haven't got that full-on definition at this point. When does an app become an actual computer game at that point, or when is it a board game?
I
Hmm.
find this question to be not this question. I think I always find it a bit annoying when people when I say like, one of my favorite board games is Dominion. They're like, Actually, it's a card game. It's like, don't be ridiculous. You know what I'm talking about. It's just a genre of activity, I suppose, that you do. It involves cards, or it involves sitting at a table, playing with friends without technology ordinarily, right?
Yeah.
I suppose in this case, it's still like, because it's based on a board game. I don't see why you can't also group that into board games personally, because it's not a video game, is it? That's quite distinctive. There's a Cluedo video game, but it's based on a board game, but you're sat at a PC playing it versus like going around with your friends in person actually playing it. Do you know what I mean?
Is that, if it was Cluedo on a computer, is that a board game or a video game?
So I think that's a video game. Yeah, I think that's a video game, just based on a board game. That's all, and has like board game attributes, I suppose.
I mean, I personally, computerized board games are a great idea in practice, but in theory, but in practice for me, they're like the worst of both worlds. You don't have the immersion and action and excitement of a regular computer game, but you also don't have the social sitting around together of a board game. And I really don't like them.
I totally get that. Yeah, I didn't think of it as like bad in both ways, for sure. Because I think for me personally, and obviously Richard, we played D&D online. I realize this is not the same as board games, but it's the same idea, right? It starts off tabletop based, but then when you translate it to the digital space, is it actually better? And I think, I don't know if you disagree with me or not, Richard, but I much prefer playing it online with, because you can automate so much, and you can create lots of different visuals and things like that. It's quicker. You don't have to do all the tidy up afterwards, and it's not like you can't just sit in a call and snack at the same time. It's all that stuff. I guess I can see like a lot of benefit to digital versions, but no, I agree that the idea is being sat together in person. Just nothing really truly beats that, does it?
No, I think there's a small place for them, like certain ones, certainly where games are difficult to learn. Sometimes it can be really good to learn a game on an app versus an AI, rather than where it doesn't matter if you get a rule wrong because you can restart the game, or it won't let you get a rule
and in some way
wrong,
it won't even let you get the rule wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
There have definitely been instances where I've played it online and realized we had been doing something wrong.
And also like getting use out of games that, certainly during lockdown, I found it really hard to, getting my partner to play some of the games that I'd normally want to play with friends is not the easiest, because some of the stuff I like isn't the most accessible. Whereas, I can still play that game against an AI or against someone that wants to play kind of across the world or whatever. But I agree, like some of it misses the point. For a very light game, I don't see the reason for having an app-based one.
Yeah,
I played Agricola, which is like a 4-hour. It was one of the first of like a fairly prolific board game author. It's Uwe Rosenberg.
Yes,
probably pronounced incorrectly. I apologize for that. But that one, it was really helpful to learn the game in app, because the rule book was a lot. It took so much time.
It was actually one of the first games we ever played together.
Was it?
And I think it was touch and go, because it was the rule book and the teach was a long one.
Right.
And I think we both suffered with a little bit of the analysis paralysis.
Well,
so
I haven't got that up.
it felt like I think I knew that if I could spend that long with you, I think we were going to be okay.
You could survive that. Maybe that's what we do in this scenario then. We see if he's going to get on with humans or not. We throw him right in the deep end.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Baptism by fire.
Oh dear. Maybe. I mean, we might not even get anywhere if you can't teach them the rules. But I suppose the question is, does it matter really? But I think it probably should matter if we're going to be really strict about this. Probably be good if I just want them to go away, one, enjoying themselves, and two, if possible, understanding something at the very least.
So even if they didn't understand it at the beginning of the game, if by the end of it they've learnt something, is that still a success?
Let's say yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's make this easier for everyone, I suppose.
That'd be nice, I think.
So I want to go first because I've thought of something, and I know the other ones are going to be better than my recommendation.
Okay.
However, I think it will start the ball rolling on something that we've got.
Okay.
So I like the idea of you guys playing as a family, slightly cooperative, learning as we go along. And I think this game might be a little bit difficult to begin with, but that was the key question that you said yes to, which was by the end of it, if they have an idea about what's going on, then it's a success. So the one that I was thinking was called Just One. So Just One is a word association game. And what will happen is one of you will take a card, you won't look at it, you'll place it in front of you, and then you'll pick a number between 1 and 6. And everybody else around the table knows what that word is. And then, whilst the person who took the card is not looking, everyone writes on it's like a plastic Toblerone piece, and they'll write another word that associates with that word. And then what will happen is you'll do a quick compare of everybody else that has written these words down. Anything that's duplicated gets gone. They're dead to it. And anything that's left is revealed to the person who picked the card. So it is going to be called the guesser at this point. And then they have to guess which word it is. Now, I don't think our alien friend is going to be particularly great at being the guesser, but being involved in that thing, learning about this word association, they're going to start learning a lot about the English language and kind of what things mean what, and potentially some really abstract associations with that word. So I quite like it. It's cooperative. You're all going to be trying to help each other. You would be naturally trying to pick your words so that they will guess what it is. So there's already a sort of leveling out of the playing field based on their abilities, and I quite like that as an idea. Maybe they won't get the word, but the words tend to be fairly simple, fairly easy to potentially guess. And to be honest, if you're a hardcore gamer, you can tend to overthink these things. So I quite like that as an idea.
Like, I actually played this with a kid last year, and it went really well. All that happened is when it was the person's turn to choose a word, so you say number 1 to 5. If they chose a word that was too difficult, you say choose another number, another number, because I later found out I chose the word armistice. I don't know what that means. And I don't think Bobby would either.
No, true.
Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe that's the one word that he knows. That would be remarkable. But
Yeah.
Probably just go with safe no. Probably doesn't.
I've had great times playing this game. Like the first time I played it was in a large group, and it was like the clearest demonstration of the kind of male-female divide.
Right.
Like the word I had to guess was cup.
Okay.
And the great thing about this is if people choose the same word, as you said, they get cancelled out. All of the boys wrote world because they have a football brain. All of the women, well, the women wrote 2 different things. So all I saw when I was trying to guess the word cup was egg and moon.
Okay.
And it led me to somewhere completely different.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's kind of the joy of it, is that it brings up these really weird, like, you find out more about people, and it's kind of, I think it's an interesting one for learning about the planet, because you learn more about the individual people that you're with, like than you would in most other games. Like, where is their thought process going, and that kind of thing, which is really nice.
And I like that because you're playing together, there's no like immediately I'm going to win, but you can also get a little bit odd if you think the challenge is too easy. So playing with your dad, if they're super into it, then you can turn up the difficulty for 8-year-old Laura if you know something slightly more difficult.
Okay.
So how? I mean, obviously we don't have to go into immediate feelings, but was it okay? Was it?
I can see
ballpark?
some real positives to it. Yeah. I mean, there's a small reservation. I'm just imagining Bobby not knowing most of these words, I suppose, and I think there's also the issue of, I mean, obviously we can go with the fact that they're like an exchange student, but I'm worried that Bobby won't even be able to understand concepts versus like language, because like language is one thing, right? But you know, all Earthlings know what a dog is. But if dog becomes as an option, they're just like, I don't know, explain what a dog is to an alien, other than this is a picture. Like, you just assume that everyone would know, even kid from random country that's not the UK. So it's just tricky. So that's the thing. I'd be like, what?
He might just
I don't want to give him away too easily. is my concern.
And he's basically just going to think we've got 100 different words for our phone. He's going to get very confused.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
dog.
Yeah, like
What?
dog. Except, yeah, I don't expect we wouldn't have smartphones at this time.
course, yeah, I
so,
forgot
yeah.
about
It'd
time
be
thing.
it'd be an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Like,
Because everybody had those.
I mean, I had Encarta. Someone asked me what I did before Wikipedia the
Wow.
other day.
Did you actually look
And,
stuff
like-
up on Encarta?
Oh god, yeah, I loved it. It actually had my copy of Encarta had a little game inside it, and so it was like doing the Wikipedia race.
For all of our listeners younger than 40,
Oh, God,
Encarta
yeah.
was a CD-ROM based encyclopedia from the 90s.
Yeah, you had to like load in different discs. Of course, no computers even have disk drives anymore.
I know.
I was literally looking at this, and that
Yeah.
the whole optical drive, like CDs, DVD, they're just
No.
you don't need it.
But
You
yeah,
have to
it was.
have it specifically installed now, don't
Yeah.
you? You
Yeah,
have to be like,
an
okay, I'm
add-on.
making a custom piece. You've got to install it. I'm like, oh, yeah, for the most part, I don't even use USB pens anymore. These are you. Not
No,
really.
not for a long time.
No, I
Long
bought
time.
one the other day. It's especially nerdy. It turns into a transformer.
Of course it
It's
does.
great. It's a transformer that turns into a USB stick, and it's great.
I've got a USB
Amazing.
stick that's just a gun. Yeah. It's not a real gun, but it's shaped like a gun because it's on a loot crate at one time.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
no.
get your Call of Duty USB pen. It's a gun. It's an assault rifle. But no, other than that, yeah, no, I'll just upload it on the internet. But no,
The problem is
Nice.
when you need a USB pen, and then you're just like, I can't find any.
I
else.
know.
I-
I needed that the
I
other
always
day.
rummage around and then end up finding one that's like 30 megs. And I'm like, this is useless.
I know,
Why
no.
was this produced?
Why was it so small? You know, it's amazing.
My one that I have is 32 gig, and I'm like, that's a bit small actually.
No.
Like, and the days of like the exponential growth of the USB stick was something that will not be understood by anyone. apart
The
from this.
USB stick almost like makes sense. Like regardless of its size, at least you can still more or less use it with a computer. However, SD cards, especially if you're using a camera or something, and suddenly I'm like, I have no way of getting this onto my
Yeah.
computer. This is insane.
And it's like, how's a slot or whichever? But other than that, yeah.
But how many have SD cards now, like slots in their computers?
Yeah, not many.
No.
No.
So this is set in 2000 where we don't have SD cards. I
Yeah,
don't think.
yeah.
I mean, we might do, but it's so encyclopedia probably so and picture books, newspapers. I don't know, whatever we can think of.
I think it's interesting about
The
that whole
TV.
translation side of things, because obviously with like sarcasm and the way in which we have those languages, they're interesting contexts to like try and get someone else to understand. And even the difference between someone in the UK who perhaps uses quite a lot of sarcasm through to like an Americanism where the sarcasm really doesn't exist. This could be something I didn't really think of when it comes to a very word-based association game. But I still think it's perfect. I'll come up with more reasons in a minute.
All right, well,
so-
I'll mull it over.
So my game is pleasingly language independent.
Oh dear.
Come in with the big gun.
Yeah.
So it's the more I think about it, it's quite quite arrogant of humans. It's a game called Planet, and it is a game where you're basically trying to recreate Earth. Like all planets must be Earth at all times. So maybe that's an issue, but it's a lovely thing. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head whether it's 4 or 5 players, but I'm gonna go with it anyway because I think it's very rare you get everyone in a house.
Yeah, I can team up Bobby, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have big on the toy factor. You've got a plastic dodecahedron, but yeah, a 12-sided die. And inside each face is a metal plate. Each round, you're gonna have 3 animals out on the table. So it could be a fox or a bison or a dolphin, and you're gonna have to try and build your planet to be hospitable to those. So it's essentially dominoes. You're trying to build the faces so that areas match. So you've got large spaces of desert or large spaces of grass or water. And the faces are all magnetic. They're all fridge magnets. So you just stick them to your planet and try and make... It's a really interesting thing of trying to make the faces match like over multiple kind of planes. I guess like making things match flat on the table is an easy thing. Making them match on 12 different like faces is very strange. It's a nice... But it's quite intuitive once you get going because you're essentially just doing dominoes. And I think the instinct to make things match is kind of ingrained in human brain anyway. So hopefully it would be something that would be easy for Bobby to
translated
just
to an
copy.
alien.
Yeah.
Who isn't a human.
I have no idea about alien psychology, but I'm hoping they like matching.
Oh, that's a shame.
Can they see colours? Can Bobby see colours?
Can Bobby see colours? Let's say
I liked
Bobby
that
can see
album.
colours. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's quite nice, and you've got the three animals, and you're trying to do habitats that kind of go into them. So I think it's quite nice to learn about the kind of softer elements of Earth and kind of the planet as a whole, that like these animals like these things. Why would they like those? And you can kind of, there's a lot of nice conversations you can have, I guess. But really kind of quite simple, but still with like lots of choices and kind of the tricky brain thing of doing it in multiple, not dimensions, but the other word.
I also like how the first word they're probably going to learn of this is dodecahedron. It's like the alphabet, and you're like, okay, xylophone. This is the most important word. One of the first 26 words we ever learn. Xylophone. And then you're just like, okay, how often does it come up in adult conversation? Not enough.
Yeah, I know. Why doesn't every household have xylophones? Okay,
Exactly.
to cater for all the kids.
Yeah.
No, but I have a question. Does everyone get their own dodecahedron?
Yes. Yes.
Is that 12 sides? Is 12
Yeah,
sides?
Yeah,
it's 12
Why do you
sides,
say
yeah.
12-sided shape? That'll do.
Not specific.
Thingamajiggy.
Not specific enough.
No.
There's a word for this, and we're going to use it.
How often do I get to use the word dodecahedron?
Not nearly
I'm
enough.
sorry,
No,
Bobby.
you
I'm
don't.
sorry in advance.
That was the
okay?
alphabet that Dickie was learning. A, B, C, D, dodecahedron.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does everyone get their own?
Yes.
Oh,
So
you get their
everyone
own.
gets their own. So you're kind of you're constantly kind of holding it and moving it around.
Mhm.
So it'd be pretty awkward if you'd have to pass it around and stuff. But it's really tactile, and quite instinctive. Like as soon as you open the box, you pick up the thing and you want to start putting the magnets on. Like,
And you take it in turns to pick up the pieces?
yeah.
and
So
place
there's like each round there'll be a row of pieces that you kind of pull from the box and you put them out, and then one by one you take the pieces and put them on the planet. But yeah, it's quite nice. I think you learn a lot about. I think learning about animals is like one of the first things we teach children as well. So it's quite a nice place to start, I think.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you think what's cool about Earth, it's definitely the animals. for
I
me.
agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
definitely the most exciting part. Life.
Mm.
And that's not just humans. It's like all walks of life. That's
Yeah.
And
super cool.
if we can get Bobby to respect the lives of animals, it's less likely to kill us all when the Armada comes,
Yes.
or
yeah.
propose an armistice.
Ah.
That's why we do need to teach him that word.
I was wondering if someone's going to squeeze that in at some point. It's like, and where's it? Use this in a sentence at some point in the podcast.
Bingo!
Like between the two, Bobby brings the Armada system. Don't know. I can't even say that. That's awful.
Combo those
deliberate.
words.
This, yes. Who knows?
So, have you been?
I finally, my brain's been clogging along
Okay.
the whole time, and I finally remembered a game I own that is not language dependent, that I've played. that I
Yeah,
didn't recommend.
yeah.
Because I was racking my brain, because I have a child, he's 7, and I feel like maybe he's on the same wavelength as as an illiterate space traveler.
Sorry for that.
We get it.
I love him. He's very dearly. So we. Okay.
Oh god! Every
So,
question in my head is cruel.
No, seriously. Just keep it in.
So we play a lot of board games together, and one of the ones he's really enjoyed that he got very early on in his board gaming career that I think you could explain to an alien is Bärenpark, which is bear park in German. Essentially, you start with a grid and you choose bear enclosures and habitats and add them to your grid. And as you cover up certain squares on your grid, it unlocks more tiles for you to pick. So you have to weigh up the easier to place tiles are worth no points. Your streets, your restaurants, your rivers. But the bears are worth lots of points, but they are weird shapes that don't fit in so neatly. And as you expand, you gradually get more tiles, and it's very easy to teach, fit shapes together. I guess numbers would be an issue. Everything's worth a certain number of points. And after his first few games, he would just be getting a fairly random amount of points and making a long string of toilets, I guess, until he understood the concept of numbers.
I think aliens could probably easily understand concept of numbers, probably more so.
Yeah. I think it'd be
Just
quicker
explain
to
it a
learn
little bit,
because you can show them your fingers.
They had to
more
have
than
got
one,
to Earth
probably.
somehow, right?
Yeah.
So they must understand some numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's magic, in which case I don't know. But
How
you'd
many
hope so.
intergalactic ships do we have to destroy to be able to take over this planet?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how many humans do we need to destroy in order for it to be uninhabitable? Yeah, exactly.
He's already done that maths.
So I'm thinking that numbers might be all right.
Okay, good. Well, that's all it is. There's literally no language in the whole thing, apart from obviously the instruction manual, but it's very easy to teach. Just fill up all your squares, have lots of bears.
That rhymed.
It
Are you
did.
proud about
did.
that one?
Yeah.
You are smug
I'm
about
very
this, I
smug
can
right
see.
now.
Yeah, it's all right. Just go for it. Just have it.
It's fine. Wasn't even planned. It's fine.
Can you tell me more about this game? Because I feel like I'm so it's on a board.
You each have your own
Okay.
board.
Okay.
You just have essentially a grid in front of you.
Yeah.
With some various like diggers and construction crew squares.
Yeah.
And when you cover up that square on the grid, it unlocks a bear enclosure.
Mhm.
So there's some of there's ones that will let you have smaller pieces. There's squares that will let you have larger pieces. And the first people when you pick like the polar bear enclosure, you get a 6-point square you can put down.
Mhm.
And then the next person to pick polar bears only has 5, and then 4, and they go down and down and down until they're all gone. Or the last one's worth 1 point. So it's essentially just trying to grab as many high points as you can, but struggling to fit them all together, because you will lose points. Oh no, sorry, you won't lose points for empty squares, but filling up sections of your board will get you statues that are worth a lot of points. So completing it perfectly you'll get more points for that. So it's really just it's like Super Tetris with bears.
I see. And are the bears like actual little characters?
Sadly not. It's all just cardboard squares. I mean, I imagine I
You
can
make a
imagine a
deluxe
world
version.
of a Kickstarter deluxe where there's little like wooden bears. That would be amazing. I'd love that. But the default one's quite a small basic box. It doesn't take very long to play. Very simple to explain, and it's really cute. The art style is lovely. Lots of little bears running around their habitats.
Yeah.
Nice. It's wholesome, family fun.
It does sound like easy enough, and
I think-
with a bit of challenge, bit of thinking, caters more towards maybe all ages versus like if it's just putting together pieces. That being said, I'm like at the moment. Sorry, Rich. I'm thinking at the moment it's currently between two like ones that don't require too much language. Okay. Currently.
I like it.
Unless
It's
you have
a
another
learning.
suggestion.
No. Well,
Learning isn't necessarily the goal. It is, but it's giving a good impression of Earth and most importantly of me and my cool family, and doing words and stuff isn't super cool. I mean, okay, I'm gonna lie and say I kind of love languages. And
How many
everyone in my
languages do you know?
I know a bunch. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not going to go into this right now, Rich. I happen to know some languages, yeah, but I think the idea of doing ones that are more like where you get busy with your hands and things versus talking too much or knowing words and word association is probably going to be easier. Not just for Bobby the alien, but also for 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and 2 people that don't play board games a bunch. So does that make sense? A little bit. I know that if we took Bobby out of the equation, I think we would actually go for that game above all of these ones. It's the kind of game that we in my household would definitely like playing. But because Bobby is in this, it becomes too complicated to do that. So
what you're saying is, based on the scenario,
Yes.
it's just terrible.
not terrible, just not as ideal as something with more.
Well, I think that I think it was a punt where it could have gone either way. Like, I think it made for an interesting and educational time. You don't. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
Agree to disagree.
Let's say if it was like an actual like foreign exchange student,
Yeah.
who's learning English, I think it'd be perfect.
But maybe I'll propose it then to your dad, who thinks this is a foreign exchange student, and then maybe then I get the
It's
sale.
true, but then it would be. I think that my sister and I would be like sweating buckets trying to explain why this isn't going so well.
You're causing them problems here. You know, they're going to be exposed. The FBI will be round. They'll get the big weird plastic tent outside.
Yeah.
I think
It's
the
not good.
one thing you have brought with this as well, just one thing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
But like our games are Burren Park and Planet, they're puzzles that can be solved, and then the natural thing of like finding the best way to do something most efficiently.
Yeah.
Whereas with yours, I think the thing of like your dad winning all the time, that's much harder to do with something like Just One, where it's a little bit more
I can't have my dad
nebulous.
winning constantly. He'll just rub in our face, and
Yeah.
that makes me grumpy. So we can't have that. As you know, the above. So yeah. This one feels like I feel like I'm leaning like slightly more towards Planet, simply because it just sounds like it would be a really fun game for kids anyway. And the idea of there being more than just one animal, like one animal, bear and polar bear, whichever, is probably more exciting for an alien to discover. Like what actually is the range of animals in this game? Just so we're clear.
Oh god, I think there's somewhere around 10 or 12 different types.
10 or
of
12.
animals.
That's more than
Yeah.
one, isn't it, then?
I think you're fine.
to be fair,
pandas and
There are pandas, okay.
and koalas
Koalas!
and grizzly bears.
Okay, so there's actually a little bit of variety.
And every park is in a different country with a different flag, and Bear Park spelt in their native language.
That
so
is
it's
cool.
educational.
Oh, why didn't you say this to begin with?
I didn't realise language was such an important issue
No,
here.
we're talking like
I was
variety.
trying to play down the language factor in this game.
No, it's not.
So it's nice to be Barron Park or
Yeah.
Bear Park, obviously, for the British one.
Yeah, any others?
Bjornen Park.
Okay, yeah.
There's a Japanese one that I can't pronounce.
Okay.
And I genuinely can't remember any of the others now because we always played the same four. My boy always likes to be the British Bear Park. I'm always Bjornen Park. My wife is Barron Park. And then all the others can be thrown in the bin as far as I'm concerned. There are plenty of other ones.
Oh, you're really selling it, Ben. You're really selling it.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but that adds some. That makes sense. They're more difficult because
All
then
right.
you've added in other countries and stuff, which means that there is that does factor in the fact that there's more to the world than just.
Yeah, so a little bit of
And
education.
also
Laura's
it-
weird house in the UK.
Yeah.
There's other countries, other cultures, other types of bears.
Yeah, truly
Yeah.
across the bear diaspora.
Exactly.
It's
It's even got koalas
big-
in there, which
big on
I'll be
bears.
honest.
Oh, koalas bears.
As a bear
They are, aren't they?
purist, I mean, come on, guys.
Did you have any? I mean, I'm stuck between these two. I need you two to fight to the death already.
Oh, wow,
so,
okay.
Okay.
Bring out your biggest gun.
Planet teaches Bobby about magnetism.
Oh.
You
That's
know.
assuming that Bobby doesn't know what magnetism is. So no, that's fair. That's
No.
fair. That's kind of cool.
But
also-
Magnets are cool.
He'll think, why
Have I
am
been
I...
underestimating Bobby this whole time?
No, I'm just being difficult.
There are two poles in Earth, as it were, but planet, we're now talking about many different ones.
12 indeed.
Confusing. Yes. He'll look at that and go, this is not what planets look or feel like. I have seen many.
I just came away confused and deceived.
Humans, 12 poles,
time to bring the
angular
armada.
planets. These idiotic humans don't understand space.
Since when have you seen a dodecahedron planet?
I mean, it's not quite flat Earther either, as well. Is it? It's like slightly flatter Earth.
We've just taken some polygons out.
yeah.
Like this is too inconsistent, too confusing. Let's bomb them. Yeah,
Yeah,
Let's bring
exactly.
the
He's going to report
armada.
back and say, I met this lovely family. They were amazing and beautiful and kind. But they are
They
just too stupid to live.
Yeah.
Think, they think
We need to put them out of their misery.
Oh,
they
God.
think the world's a dodecahedron. I mean, really?
Well, we've seen it, and we've seen it. It's spherical.
They've
yeah.
obviously not been into outer space.
yeah. Bunch of idiots. Okay, well, what's your counter?
Oh, well, whereas
apart from it
with
getting
my
confusing?
game, he will just love bears so much. He'll build a little golden statue for a bear. He'll get that satisfaction of slotting that last tile into place, filling the grid, and putting down his golden bear statue as his reward. And
Golden
he'll be
bear
like,
statue. That sounds fun and cool.
it is cool.
My sister and I do love did love teddy bears, growing up, and so I feel like maybe we would wind up being like, Planet's cool and everything, but you should play Barn Park. It's way cooler. It's got bears in it. It's got pandas.
You can have little restaurants. You can actually, not care about your points and design a park that is just nice to visit. You put a road down here that leads into the koala exhibit, and then you have the restaurants with the toilets that leads into the panda area. Like, that's how I sold my boy on it initially. Like, we would just make something that looks cool, and then we worried about the points later.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think growing up, any games like Hearts, for example. Sometimes you just want to play until until there's no one left, and then points are just like whatever, But or maybe Hearts isn't the right option, but so it's one of those things. Like, it doesn't have to be points based. It can just be oh, it looks nice, I suppose. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like playing like a SimCity kind of game, like a like a theme park building game. They're just fun to watch all the things move around. Well, when you're playing a computer game, to watch the little people walking around the streets, but same with a board game.
Yeah, I think with kids' games, you kind of want to come out of it with them feeling like they've done better than they have before, or that they've just done well for them.
Yeah.
I think both of these have an aspect of it that you can kind of, did you do better than before? Did you just make a nice planet? Did you just make a nice park?
And in
was
just
that,
one,
was that a nice
how
time?
many words that you got successfully as a team.
Yeah. Thanks, Richard. Anyway, back to Planet.
No animals, though, are there? That's the problem.
I mean, all the words can just be animals. It's fine. We can have koala, we can have panda, but we can also have birds and fishes in there as well.
I don't understand those words.
Oh dear.
You lost me at panda and koala.
Bobby's doing this right now, just going like, huh?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Just question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
What I will say is if Bobby comes back and is choosing which animals survive based on the games they've played, a world with only bears would be quite a difficult one to live in.
That's just straight up Apex the whole time.
Yeah.
just predators.
I don't know. Pandas are pretty useless. Yeah. We
Yeah,
would just be.
Yeah, they're not going to survive long without us.
Yeah,
Looking
pretty
after them,
much. Yeah. So.
Koalas too, but I think Planet maybe saves more of the Earth. By nature of how many different animals there are.
Although maybe if we teach him about building zoos, he will take a small amount of the human population and create like a human park
Oh no.
where we can live in our pampered, they can try and like persuade us to breed like grumpy pandas.
So you prefer... Oh
I'm not sure what
dear.
I prefer. I don't know if I prefer to die or become a prisoner in a panda park. Or not, to be honest.
This human was bred in captivity. I think I've seen that newspaper article.
I just think it's better than being wiped out, potentially.
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe
I'll
better.
come back and let you know. Once I tell Bobby, can you not?
Well, with that, we've thrown our best apparently at you. Some of it's stuck, some of it hasn't.
Okay.
What would you think fits the scenario best? And do you think we've done a good enough job?
I think so, absolutely. Done a great job.
Okay.
The fact that I'm stuck between two, and not because it's like two of the...
Yes, two of us have done a great job.
Got it.
And one commendable but inappropriate suggestion.
Honourable mention.
Honourable mention. Participation award goes to Rich.
Thank you.
I think that I'm really sorry. It's probably going to be Planet. It's just slightly edging out simply from the variety, and also when I picture my family, obviously I know my family, so I have a bit of an advantage here. I can see them, everyone enjoying this, even if it's just playing it once. At the end of the day, we're just playing it once for Bobby, and then okay, bye Bobby, and then bin it. I don't know, whatever. Sure, I think I think everyone will come away feeling like we're not salty. Someone probably won. Kids had fun, and Bobby learned some things and felt warm and happy about Earth, and probably doesn't want to murder us afterwards. That's I think probably my choice is Dickie wins again.
Good choice.
Oh god.
Am I becoming the heel of the podcast?
I would, based on the fact of your board game knowledge prior, I probably would have said that you have a. I should have done a bloody bet beforehand, shouldn't I? I'd have been like, they would soften the blow. I'd have been like, yeah, I'd have probably bet Dickie. Jeez. No, well, Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for picking the inferior board game recommendation. Absolutely, like just one would have been perfect.
Oh, don't get upset, Rich. You'll get one day.
One day.
I mean, I would say 3 great games, as recommend. All of these are brilliant.
They all
games.
sound super fun, honestly.
Most important thing is if you had fun recommending games, then you're a real winner.
I am. Thank you.
That's the point.
I'll go away
That's
with
something
my.
losers would say, Ben. Yeah.
I'll take my
And I have to
participation.
console my boy
trophy.
quite a lot, so I'm used to it.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, Laura. Where can people find you? What's going on? What's happening?
Where you at?
So again, I'm a Twitch streamer streaming on twitch.tv/lolipopgi, which is spelled LOLIPOPGI. I play all kinds of variety games. I mean, it's just really just like the whole mix, but I suppose for the most part, play things like simulator games. That's my wheelhouse. You can also find me on Twitter at twitter.com/lolipopgi_, where you can get, I guess, latest updates and stuff. So yeah, that's it really.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great.
It's been fun.
It has. Slightly bitter. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.